Hi, this is Mark Boals from the Yngwie Malmsteen Foundry, Shining Black, Ring of Fire, etc. You're listening to the Nothing Shocking podcast. Yeah.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking podcast, a non-genre based, all-ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The Sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studios is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Libsyn or any pod catchers, like our Facebook page, or follow us on Twitter at NoShockPod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, and downtown Davenport, Iowa. We'd like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
Mark Boals of Foundry,
Yngwie Malmsteen,
Ring of Fire,
Dokken,
Ted Nugent, and a whole host of others.
And a lot of European artists. Yeah, what a fun interview that was. He had so much information, we just couldn't cram it all into one episode. Maybe we can get him back on.
Yeah, he's got quite the catalog, so if you're interested, check it out.
Yeah, and I believe Foundry's going on the road here, right, real soon?
Yeah, they got a couple of new singles they released in 2019-20.
Yep, so hey, let's get to this interview.
Good night.
Good night.
Mark, welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'd like to introduce to you my co-host, Jeff Untied.
Hey, Mark. It's going to be fun to talk to you tonight.
Hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you guys.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for the correspondence. We've been really looking forward to having you on the podcast since we scheduled you months ago, so this is really exciting for us.
Cool.
All right, man. So during the 2020 pandemic, you've been extremely busy releasing, Foundry releasing 3 singles, Thunder Rolls, Intoxicate, and Not This Time. Can you talk a bit more about Foundry, the new music, working on new music during the COVID-19 lockdown?
Yeah. Well, we've been, with Foundry, we decided this is not for all of my things, but for Foundry, they're the most modern kind of band I guess I'm in, because we're just doing singles. We're not doing albums. I'm still doing albums with my other band. So, but we had. I don't remember when Thunder Rolls came out, but Intoxicate was on the charts for 8 weeks. It was in the top 40. It peaked at number 38 on the active rock, and Not This Time was just out 14 weeks. It peaked at number 32 in the active rock. And we're having another single coming out Friday, August 13th. And all of this stuff we're recording with a producer named Colin Britton, who is a Papa Roach producer, co-writer, and he's got like 5 #1 singles this year. So he's like really hot now, and we like working with him. And yeah, we're going to be doing some shows this year too. But last year was we did a virtual show. That was about it. The rest was just studio work. But it's a good band and good guys, and we have a lot of fun with it. Just modern basic rock stuff.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the other members in your band. Can you talk a little bit about your players?
In Foundry?
Yeah.
That's Chris Iorio. He was in a band that had I think they had some success. Adelita's Way. He was with them when he was like 16. It was quite a while ago. He's still like the youngest guy in the band, but he's a guitarist. He's great guitar player, and I think he has another band called Core. He's in also, but yeah, we've been working with him for a couple years now, and we haven't had a chance to tour that much. We were actually on tour with Tesla when the whole pandemic thing happened, and we had to come home and cancel the whole tour. We were out with them for a good run. And Nico Gemini's the bass player. He's the newest member of the band. I'm not familiar with his other bands. He's a young guy too. And Mark Ratton is kind of the leader of the band. He started the whole thing. He's the drummer. And I'm just the singer in this band and co-writer.
Yeah.
We all write together the songs. So yeah.
Oh, very good.
It's actually I'm working with American musicians for once. Most of the time I'm working with guys from somewhere in Europe or Scandinavia or Japan or South America. But no, this time it's all American.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, cool.
You had touched upon Foundry just released 3 singles, and you're going to release another one here. But I guess maybe this question is more of like just a general question. How do you prefer, the climate of today's music? It seems like we're going backwards in time to the release of the 45, the single, opposed to the full-length album or even the EP, and not many people are doing both right now except for the singles. But, what is your preference right now? I know you can't help but what the industry's doing right now, but as far as a preference, do you like releasing singles at a time?
Yes and no. The reason for my no answer would be that we're sitting on a lot of music and waiting to release it instead of, because we don't just sit and like write one song and then sit around and do nothing. we still write a bunch of songs like to make an album. I mean, I've been doing that for my whole career, is making albums. So I still think along those lines. But it's hard, I don't know. It's the whole music scene is so hard to figure out what to do now because nobody even downloads anything anymore. It's all streaming.
Yes.
But the audience that actually will buy a CD or even download something, they're all dying off because they're getting old. Unfortunately, I wish they would stick around forever, but yeah. So we have to adapt. But we're still making music. I'm busier than ever. Well, you have to be busier than ever to support my family. That's all I do is music, so I don't have a day job. Never. Rarely in my life have I had a day job. Only when times were really bad and I got really mad at the music business. But I snap back to reality real fast as soon as I work a day job.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess maybe, this is maybe a looking down the path question, but do you ever foresee the industry coming back to the tangible product as being what's popular for people to purchase music again? I know that people are not really purchasing music anymore. Since they're streaming everything on Spotify and what have you. But do you ever feel as though that, the tangible product will be of what the popular culture wants again?
Gosh, I really would hope so. I wish people would actually be able to experience vinyl and analog sound because the sound of it and the feeling of it and the vibe that you get from a well-recorded analog album on vinyl is totally different than you can get from any streaming, no matter how good your system is, because it's the bit rate and everything is so compressed and it's so much smaller sounding. But there are some people are getting turned on to vinyl now. They're releasing limited amounts of vinyl, and people are buying record players as it's kind of like a gimmick, but I when I grew up as a kid, I'm going to sound old now, but I just loved having those album covers with the great artwork and watching the record go around and listening to that sound that the needle was making by vibrating on the grooves, and seeing that album artwork and reading the liner notes, and it's just none of that exists. I mean, at first it got shrunken down to a CD where you couldn't see it anymore, and now there's nothing.
Yeah.
Jeff, you want to take the next one?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about, you're getting into the music, when you first started in music, what got you singing, and you play bass and piano, right?
Yeah, well, I started out, I always wanted to be a singer. I'll start at the very, very beginning. I recorded myself on my dad's tape recorder when I was like 5 years old, and
cool.
And I started singing solos in church, but I was really shy and kind of quiet person, so I figured I would start playing bass. I picked up the bass finally when I was 9 and started playing. And I started playing in bands with older guys and sneaking into the back door of bars so I could play with them live gigs when I was way too young to be there. And I was like their gimmick, little kid playing music. But their singers were never that good, so I started singing and eventually ended up being the singer and bass player. And that was easy for me because I didn't feel so shy as that. But I always considered myself a singer more than anything. But I love playing bass, and I still do, because it makes me feel like a kid again. So
yeah, cool.
I kind of want to bring this back up to 2020. 2020 was also the release of Shining Black, featuring yourself and Olaf Thornton. Can you talk more about the creative process and brainchild for this album?
Yeah, well, it's me and Olaf co-write all the songs, and I was originally going to work with him with Labyrinth. He has a prog band out of Italy called Labyrinth. They've been around for quite a while. They're quite popular in Europe and Japan, but it never worked out. And I just was talking to the label. I do a lot of stuff with the label Frontiers out of Italy.
Yes.
They have great worldwide distribution for whatever that's worth nowadays, but. And they suggested, why don't you work with Olaf? And I'm like, oh yeah, I know that guy. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So that's how we got together, and we started talking, and we started to trade song files back and forth, and we came up with the first album. And we're doing it again right now because I still can't travel over there. Europe is it's kind of iffy to travel from America to Europe and back again because of the virus still. So. We're doing it the same way, trading files right now. We're writing the album right now, and that should come out by the end of the year. We're hoping to finish it up within the next month or so.
Oh, fantastic. So many artists we've spoke to this past year have felt as though that the pandemic has kind of renewed their creativity for, creating new music. Can you talk more about your working mindset during 2020 and this COVID-19 lockdown?
Well, because I kind of went through a period of where I was kind of in shock. I didn't know. I mean, everybody here. I live in Las Vegas, and we thought, oh, they're going to shut it down for a couple of weeks. That'll be it, you know. And then it was like another month and another month. It kept getting worse and worse. And like, how bad is it going to get? And I was kind of in shock for a while. I didn't do anything. And then when I started though working on stuff, then it just started pouring out. I just was like going crazy. And I think that's what all the artists. Because we've been locked up for so long, we're just dying. Well, we are dying to get out there and play live because that's the lifeblood of music for me is sharing it live with fans. In fact, that's the main reason we record music anymore, so we can go play it live. That's for me. So I don't know how many albums I'm going to be on this year, but There's going to be Shining Black. I don't know if the Ring of Fire I'm working on. I just started working on that with Vitaly Kupri again. That may come out this year or next. I'm not sure. But I'm also scheduled to work with Kelly Simon from Japan, who I did a tour with over there a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We started working on stuff, and it's been delayed. So, and also I'm flying down to Santa Fe to Don Dokken's studio. I'm going to do background vocals on his new Dokken album.
Fantastic.
Cool. Yeah.
So, he's got a new album coming out, and he always has me sing backgrounds now since I did the Broken Bones album with him back in, I don't know, a few years back.
Yeah.
But I forgot the question now. I'm sorry, I'm rambling on.
Well, I guess I guess this was like the mindset during COVID. Is artists that we've talked to, it seems like every week we talk to a different artist, and they feel like as though that maybe this has been more of like a refresher, maybe revigorated their creative writing process to make maybe new music. Maybe brought on something new for them. Do you kind of feel the same way?
I do actually. I feel like that everything has been freshened up a little bit, and I notice what people are coming out with, and I think the kind of the vibe and the style of rock is changing, and I think it's in a good way. It's changing. I think people are getting more creative and less derivative of each other. Like it seemed to me, listening to bands on the radio or whatever I get exposed to, everybody for a long time was sounding the same. Everybody was using the same type of production and the same type of instrumentation and the same type of songs. And I couldn't tell which band was which anymore. But I think people are getting a little more individualized and back to the way it was in early days of rock, where bands sounded different. And I like that. I think that's fantastic. So I hope that keeps up.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. When you're writing songs and you're doing exchanging files over the internet or stuff, is there any extra challenge to then come together and be able to perform that song live? Or
for me, no. But for some people, yes. The people that use a lot of studio gimmicks, that it makes it kind of hard. But I've spent my whole life keeping my voice in good shape, and a lot of rock singers, as they get as they have a storied career, their voices aren't as in good shape because they don't take care of it, and that makes it hard, because then they could sing it in the studio, but then live it's really difficult. But it's not for sissies.
Yeah. Otherwise, we'd all be doing it, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's rock and roll is not for sissies. It's actually a hard work. You got to work at it, and for me, you got to do a great live show anymore, because the bar has been raised so high now for live shows. That being said, a lot of people are using tracks and all that stuff, but people can tell nowadays, I think, if it's real or not.
Oh, they absolutely can. Yeah. This year, you've taken a part with Renaissance Rock Orchestra. Yeah. How did this opportunity come your way? Is this just a one-off thing for you, or is this going to be a thing that you keep revisiting over and over again?
Well, it's hard to tell. Greg Fox is the kind of the originator of that whole thing, and I sang, I think, one or two songs on the album they did a few years ago. Robin McCauley sang on it too. He had a lot of singers. He had a singer from TNT. What was his name? A lot of good singers. It was kind of like a hodgepodge of people doing some prog orchestral rock. And I just put on this new EP. I'm the only singer, but the band is really great. The guitarist is from Symphony X, Michael Romeo.
Yes.
The drummer Brian Tichy from Whitesnake, Foreigner, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
Christian Brady's now. We're doing a live show actually here in Vegas this month on the 29th, and we're just putting rehearsals together with that now. We'll have string players, we'll have background singers, and we're going to have Phil Suzanne playing bass.
Oh,
and,
cool!
Yeah, it's going to be a killer show.
Oh.
So I don't know. I think he's wanting to put together some kind of a like once or twice a month show for Vegas and maybe for other places too, with this project, and it's fun. So I hope it does well.
Oh, fantastic. I know over the years we've seen similar endeavors like Renaissance Rock Orchestra with veteran musicians like yourself. I guess what makes the Renaissance Rock Orchestra different from all the others?
Well, I haven't heard all the others, so I don't know. It's good quality stuff. I mean, I don't have an answer for that. I'm sorry. I don't know.
That's okay. Go ahead, Jeff.
Except it must be better. I haven't heard the other ones, but it must be better.
Oh, there you go.
Well, yeah. Speaking of Las Vegas, I read you were part of
Raiding the Rock Vault.
Yeah, Raiding the Rock Vault. It's a show in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I did that show for 5 years. Yeah, we had a lot of famous guys in that. That was fun. Yeah, we had Howard Leese and we had 4 male singers and 1 female singer and 2 guitars. It was a lot of people. Lots of people up there playing classic rock stuff. A lot of fun. That's the first time I really had played any cover songs for many, many, many years since I started out, and it was fun. Playing the classics, and with guys like that, we had the two of the guys were in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Howard Leese from Heart, and a bass player from Bon Jovi, Hugh McDonald, and we had the guitarist from REO, Dave. I can't think of his last name now. Dave Amato.
Yeah.
And we had people coming in and out. Like we had Lou Gramm from Foreigner. We had the singer from Yes, the singer from Starship. A bunch of people coming through all the time as special guests. So yeah, but it's so competitive here with shows because there's like 200 shows going on at once here.
Yeah.
So it's hard to be competitive. You have to bring the best game. It's Las Vegas, man.
Well, speaking of Las Vegas, over the years we've seen hotbeds of rock and roll from the Sunset Strip to the New York City rock scene. As far as the Las Vegas rock scene goes, I know we've had different artists that have lived in Vegas and said that there's different little parts of Las Vegas that have a pretty good rock and roll following. What are your thoughts on the rock scene in Las Vegas?
Well, there's a heck of a lot of great musicians here, that's for sure. I don't know that. A lot of them use this as a home base, and it's a lot of people have escaped from Los Angeles to come here. They either went here or to Nashville, either one, because of many, many reasons. I just got tired of driving back and forth, and tired of driving in general, living in LA, because everywhere you go it takes 2 hours to get there. You're mostly sitting still. So yeah, I lived in LA for 30 years, and I loved it, and I still love it, but I just hate the driving part. And it just gets more and more crowded, and people are old timers that have been living there their whole lives. They're escaping. They're escaping. Gene Simmons just bought 2 houses here, by the way. So.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
But do you feel as though when it comes to rock scenes in general, where you have a great local scene, do you ever, right now we're kind of starving for that. Yeah. Do you feel that maybe Vegas could be the next rock scene for the younger people?
Could be. It's hard to say. There are a lot of venues here, and there's a lot of original music being played all over the place. A lot and with better musicians than were recently in LA, because the quality. I was in LA in the '80s, and every band was not every band was great, but there was so many great bands
right
at that time. But more recently, the quality of bands went way down in LA. So, and there just wasn't a scene. There wasn't a scene happening for them, to play. Everybody goes and plays other places, other countries. For me, it was playing in other countries. So, but it could happen here. It could happen here. I don't know. Everybody says that Nashville is the place now for rock. I don't know. A lot of my friends moved there. I just ended up here. And we had a lot of friends. I made a lot of musician friends here, and there's some cool places to hang out and play music.
Oh, fantastic. Jeff, you got one?
Well, I don't know if it's really a question. I was just going to reminisce about 1997. I have the Dragon Attack Queen tribute album, and you play on there, or you're on the song Keep Yourself Alive with Yngwie Malmsteen and Rudy Sarzo and Tommy Aldridge. Can you talk a little bit about recording that song?
Well, that was because Yngwie was the guitar player, and I recorded the vocals in his studio. It was a nightmare because everything with Yngwie was a nightmare. The main thing for me was that he refused to play the guitar riff, which is the whole song.
Yeah.
You know, he refused. He said, "I'm not playing that." And everybody else recorded remotely. But I have worked with those guys. Are all friends of mine. And actually, in '96, we had Tommy Aldridge on drums with Yngwie, and we toured. We had the Inspiration album that I did with Yngwie, and we toured on that album for like 6 months with Tommy on drums. And it was an experience. But yeah, recording that song, first of all, he played it in the wrong key. He lowered the key too much, and then he refused to play the guitar riff, which is like the coolest part of the song. So I was frustrated. The feeling of that was frustrating. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Fair enough. I have 2 more questions for you, then we're going to leave you alone for the night. Deal?
Uh-huh.
All right. So you also released all the best of album during the COVID-19 lockdown. What was the process like releasing a best of album during COVID-19? And as an artist, how do you narrow down a track list for a best of style album? I always found that to be, it has to be hard for the artist to do something like that. Can you talk a little bit more about it?
Yeah, it's really hard because originally it was going to be a box set, but this was all due to me working with the label. I've been working with Frontiers Records out of Italy since they started like over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And their suggestion to me was to make a box set because I had one of my solo albums was only released ever in Japan. It was never released anywhere else. And I had some extra songs and stuff, so I put that all together, and then they kind of chickened out on the release of the box set and just said, "Oh, just make it a double CD," and that was really frustrating because I had to narrow it down to limit what I can fit onto 2 CDs, which was not that much. But I put that in. I did the best I could, tried to pick out the most interesting stuff I thought. But that's really hard to do. It's really hard.
All right, so I have one last question for you, and then we'll be leaving you alone for the night. So in 2001, you were part of Hypnotica, the album from the band Empire. Can you talk a little bit more about Hypnotica and that band? It goes with Rolf Munkus, correct?
Yeah, he's a friend of Anders Johansson. Anders was the drummer with Yngwie when I started out in '85 and '86 with Yngwie, and so he was the original guy. And also I had a band with him called Billionaires Boys Club, which we did an album. And Rolf was a good friend of his, so those two basically put that whole thing together. And that was some really fun stuff. And by the way, the Billionaires Boys Club, I'm really sorry. When I listen back to that, I really like that album. I really like that album. I wish we'd have done more with that. But as weird rock and roll stories go, with the Billionaires Boys Club, the guitarist was he was from Accept, York Fisher.
Yes.
He disappeared. And to this day, nobody knows what happened to him.
Oh, wow.
It's like, Spinal Tap, the drummer spontaneously combusting. This guy who just disappeared.
All right, I guess we lied to you. I guess Jeff's got one more question for you. So
I just want to, you've got a large collection of, like you alluded to, albums and songs that you've released overseas and not in America. For the American listener or collector fan, what's one of your albums that you recommend somebody just has to check out?
Oh, that's really tough. Yeah. There's bits on all of them that are great.
Yeah.
That really are my favorites. Oh, jeez.
Put him on the spot.
I didn't expect that question. You got me. Because it changes, day to day too. What I really love. I don't know. I guess most people, when I talk to fans, they always go back to the first album I did with Yngwie, the trilogy album.
Yes.
Everybody says that's the best.
Fair enough.
That was the first album I ever did in my life. So, I guess it was all downhill from there.
It's amazing that you say that, because I remember as a kid going to the local record store and picking up that trilogy album on cassette and playing it on my jam box out in the alley as I shot hoops with our neighborhood friends. And everybody was just wondering, who is that? Because you never heard anything like that before, the guitar playing, what have you. So it was something special, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a wild experience, I'll tell you. Those were the days. Those were the days. We toured with that band, with Yngwie. We toured. We did 2 tours with AC/DC, and it was just endless. We did 200 and some shows with them.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
wow. All right. Well, Mark, we're kind of down to our allotted time here, so this is how it's going to work.
Okay.
We have about 3 episodes ahead of yours that need to be released, so we're looking at about 3 weeks or so. And Jeff, the editing wizard over here, will have it all ready. Then I'll email it to you when it's all ready to go.
Okay.
And please share it to all your socials if you can. But before we let you go tonight, is there anything that we missed that you wanted to plug or promote?
No, it's just we have some shows coming up in the USA with Foundry in the southeast around Louisiana, Mississippi.
Okay.
Coming up in September, and we're playing in. We're doing some shows here in the West later in August too. So look out for Foundry. Check out Foundry.
Fantastic.
Okay.
All right, man.
Thank you guys.
We'll be in touch with you in about 3 weeks. All right.
All right.
Take care.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Take care of yourself.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Stay safe. Bye-bye.
dragon says their last goodbyes. Move to the sunshine, fight the grip of nights. If they ever take from